Hey, good evening, friends and family. Let's talk about this Marc Lamont Hill firing. So Marc Lamont Hill is a Temple University professor and a CNN pundit. I have never seen him on CNN before, but I guess he's on there. And he's defending himself most recently following perceived controversial comments he made during a speech at the United Nations on Wednesday for a free Palestine. This is him as a speech talking in the background here. During his speech, Marc Lamont Hill used the phrase free Palestine from the river to the sea, which is a phrase, most people call it a dog whistle, used by anti-Israel terror groups, according to the website The Hill. We have an opportunity to not just offer solidarity in words, but to commit to political action, grassroots action, local action, and international action that will give us what justice requires, and that is a free Palestine from the river to the sea, Hill said. He followed up by basically the Anti-Defamation League and the National Council of Young Israel condemned Hill's remarks. The National Council of Young Israel also called for Temple University and CNN to fire Hill over his highly offensive and virulent anti-Semitism remarks. Following that, they're abhorrent, and his senseless promotion of violence against Israel is repugnant. He can't be given a platform to serve as a pundit or professor, the council tweeted. Sharon Nazarian, the ADL senior vice president for international affairs, told the Jewish Journal that those calling for from the river to the sea are calling for an end to the state of Israel. It is a shame that once again this annual event at the United Nations does not promote constructive pathways to Palestinian solidarity and a future of peace, but instead divisive and destructive action against Israel, Nazarian said to the Jewish Journal. And then Variety, of course, reported that CNN has severed ties with Hill following his remarks. And then Marc Lamont pretty much went on the defensive. He defended his remarks, basically saying, "In my speech, I talked about the need to return to the pre-1967 borders, to give full rights to Palestinian citizens of Israel, and to allow right of return. No part of this is a call to destroy Israel. It's absurd on its face. It's baffling how people are not responding to the critique, but instead responding to things I didn't actually say." He said, "Yesterday I gave a speech at the UN, which I critiqued Israel's policies and practices toward Palestinians. It's baffling." I just read that. And then he also said, "I concluded my remarks with a call to free Palestine from the river to the sea. This means that all areas of historic Palestine, such as the West Bank, Gaza, Israel, must be spaces of freedom, safety, and peace for Palestinians." He further writes, "Anyone who studies this region of history or the history of Palestinian nation knows from the river to the sea it's always been used and continues to be a phrase used by many factions, ideologies, movements, and politicians. The phrase dates back to at least the middle of the British Mandate and has never been the exclusive province of a particular ideological camp." And so, I mean, I'm not sure where to really go with this. It's interesting that CNN would fire this man over making the remarks. Now, if it was a snide comment, maybe CNN actually reviewed this. And this light is just way too bright on. My goodness, I'm like getting whited out by this thing. But to me, it almost seems like this should kind of be something that CNN maybe reviewed. Maybe they looked at his statement before he actually went on air. That's kind of good, but now I just see him darkened. But it just seems like something that maybe Marc Lamont Hill should have reviewed with CNN, but maybe he doesn't really care about employment at that place that much to begin with. I'm just going to look at this quick Fox News article. But I am surprised that, the Anti-Defamation League kind of stands up for the Jewish people. And it's almost like a one-sided sort of I don't know what you would call it, organization. I don't know if they're nonprofit or for-profit, but it just is interesting to me, and they must have pretty deep pockets over at CNN to be able to cause this sort of stir. Now, Temple University apparently did not fire him, and he serves as a professor in their media or does something there. But it surprises me because this is the same, Israel that killed a whole bunch of Palestinian protesters, about 55, 60 of them. And so, yes, I would agree with Marc Lamont that there needs to be peace. And while he probably did use terms that other extremists have used, is it the term, like the term isn't causing the extremism. There are extremists, but the term, the phrase, a free Israel from the river to the sea, in my mind, does not connotate violence at all. To me, it connotates people should be free to live where they want to live. And the whole thing about this just really gets back to biblical times and biblical prophecy and all that things, that the land was promised to the Israelites, and it just goes really far back than that. But how many things, and I've said this on my videos repeatedly, how many things have been done in the name of the word or the Bible that have just been completely terrible? I mean, slavery has been time and time again justified by the Bible. So many other atrocities. We see people getting killed, murdered, maimed, priests doing whatever they wish to do, and they all use the Bible to back them up. So I'm not saying that the Israelites are in any way wrong. No, they're God's chosen people, as far as I'm concerned, based off of the Bible. But in this day and age, we cannot live in a world where it is okay to kill one group of people. And I believe that is all Marc Lamont Hill was trying to say, is that the Palestinians, Arabs, should be allowed to live in the promised land side by side. Now, if it be God's will that none of these Zionists should actually, have their way, then perhaps they should, perhaps something will happen. Now, if the Arabs don't belong to them, perhaps something else will happen. But I just don't understand how it's okay for the Anti-Defamation League to sit back and say nothing about the killing of Arabs by the Jews, while this guy says one thing and all of a sudden he gets fired, and that's the end of his career at CNN. So for me, I would like to see something happen where there's maybe some more Muslim representation at the Anti-Defamation League. I would like to see something where there is representation from all people in the Anti-Defamation League, because it just seems so one-sided. Maybe I'll join it myself. I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me what the Anti-Defamation League is really about, and if they are all inclusive, or if they're just here to be a watchdog to see if anyone says something negative about the Jews, to make sure that that person gets buried into the ground. Now, there were some quotes that I did see that Marc Lamont Hill did make that seemed pretty questionable about the Israelis, when he said that he was parched by the time he got there because he didn't drink any of the Israeli water. I mean, come on, that's obviously taking it a little bit too far, and it just kind of undermines your whole statement and your speech, saying that you really foster no hate towards the Jews. But again, to me, the whole river to the sea statement, I think we got to let it go as a violence bell whistle. If he's saying that there should be peace, a one-state peace proposed solution between the Israelis and the Muslims, then that's what he's saying. And to take it, like, did anyone actually talk to him before they fired him, or was it just like, oh, you know what, Anti-Defamation League is saying, that this was a bell whistle, we're gonna let you go? Like, is there something in there that says, or there must be a CNN handbook that says, never shall you say from the river to the sea? And he knew this, and he still said it. Or, like I said, he must have written it. Someone at CNN read it and said, take that out, and if you say it, we're firing you. And he still said it. I just don't understand how this swift of an action against this man resulted from him saying those couple of words. It boggles my mind. So I would love to hear more from what CNN says, but this to me just seems like too crazy of an action. I mean, I've heard of there's another person who said Sig Heil, and they fired him. I wouldn't compare Sig Heil to From the Rivers to the Seas, but at the same time, there must be a lot more history that I don't understand about the phrase from the river to the sea. Sure, if it was used by extremists, Sig Heil was used by the Nazis, and look where that got us with the Nazis. So maybe there is some basis to people saying from the rivers to the seas. Maybe it is a bell whistle. There's just so much here to really understand, and the history of the Israeli and the Muslim struggle is just so complex, and it just will never end. It's literally the basis of most of world history at the end of the day, is this one strip of land that we just cannot seem to figure out how to live peacefully in. And it just boggles my mind, and it pisses me off that we still, to this day, just can't seem to figure it out. So hopefully Marc Lamont Hill keeps his job at Temple. I don't think they plan on firing him, and hopefully we find out more about why CNN decided to fire him at the end of the day, when there should have been probably more of a conversation. I haven't seen anything more in terms of why CNN decided to drop him, other than the fact that it just coincides with his speech where he said from the river to the sea. So that's all I've got. At the end of the day, there should be peace on earth everywhere. No one should be forced to live where they don't want to live, and people should have the option to live where they want to live. And that's my takeaway from all this. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace out.